HarperCollins presents Secrets of the Watch House by Jenny Ashcroft. Read by Hannah Genesius. Dedication. For you, Chloe. April 1934. Hello, old thing. I've been meaning to write for such a terribly long time. I do hope you'll forgive the delay. I gather you're to have a new resident on the island. A young lady who, by my estimate, will arrive at Aoife's on the same boat that brings this letter. I'm picturing her now, clambering ashore, doe eyes taking in her wild new home. Quite striking, so I believe, although no patch on Elizabeth. Who could be? Still, a pretty lone woman come to stay. My goodness, that must bring back some memories. Although, have you really managed to forget it all? Forget what you did and got away with? Could you truly have put a thing like that from your mind? I know I've never been able to. And how strange, how utterly perplexing it is that even as I sit here imprisoned by sorrow, you remain at liberty, with life on Aoife's still continuing, and now another woman invited to her shores. What would she think, I wonder, if she was to learn the truth of how that ended for Elizabeth? Oh, has that made you anxious, old thing? A little hot in the skin? You've believed your secret's safe, haven't you? But I know it all, you see. I know just what you did and where you were that October night in 1932, and I'll be keeping a closer eye on you from now on. I have a little bird among you, a little bird who, when pressed, tweets. A little bird who tweets to me. You haven't got away with it, old thing. I simply can't allow you to have got away with it. Chapter 1. Violet. April 1934. It was on an inauspiciously grey day that Violet Ellis made her move from London to Aoife's Bay, her world packed loosely into her father's battered suitcase, and no one left in that city she'd so fleetingly belonged to miss her. The landlady of her Lancaster Gate boarding house had already given her room to another, a primary school teacher who'd sighed at the damp marks adorning the floral walls, the missing hooks on the curtains, but paid a month's rent in advance anyway, because what more could one expect for £1.06? And her employer, Mr. Barlow, of the legal firm Barlow Shipley, had hired a new secretary. Thenceforth, a Miss Lydia Atkins would be arranging his diary, taking his dictations, and reminding him to return his wife's telephone calls. Good luck to her, really. Violet had travelled on the Tuesday night sleeper from Paddington to Penzance, then by bus to the fishing village of St Leonard's, where, as per her instructions, she'd headed to the harbour, looking for a postman, there to catch the same boat as him on to Aoife's. It had been a relief when she'd spotted his uniform so easily on the small, drizzly quayside. She'd been fretting about missing him, missing the crossing. There were just 3 a week to the island, she'd been warned. Aoife's, with its less than 20 residents, apparently had no need for more. Small and several nautical miles out to sea, it had never been a magnet for tourists like St Michael's Mount or St Mary's. Violet herself hadn't even heard of it until the headlines that had bellowed from the nation's broadsheets 18 months before. Few had. Its isolation was, James Atherton had told her, the very quality that had most appealed to him when he'd built his now notoriously beautiful home into its cliffs. The war made rather a bore of me, I'm afraid, he'd said, the first night they'd properly made one another's acquaintance, leaning across their table in Quaglinos, stubbing his cigarette into the tray. When I came back, I craved silence, peace. The lamplight had caught the glint in his dark eyes. His voice had been gravelly with irony. I was utterly fixated on the idea of peace. It had been on a stormy October night in 1932 that his wife had disappeared. Violet had still been living with her father back then, the pair of them marooned in their own pocket of provincial obscurity, as they had been ever since Violet's mother had run off with an American serviceman 13.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?